Well, Kevin De Bruyne announced that he'd be ending a decade of incredible success with Manchester City at the end of the season. No doubt the rest of the Premier League will be breathing a huge sigh of relief, but where's he heading next? We're delighted to be joined by ESPN reporter Lizzy Becherano, all the way from the States. Lizzy, how are you?
I'm good. How are you? I'm honored to be here.
Very good, very good. So no doubt Kevin De Bruyne is a player MLS would love to have playing in the league. What do we know at the moment about the American frontrunners for his signature?
I think you put it perfectly just now. Inter Miami seem to be the American frontrunners, but that by no means exemplifies their interest. So basically what happened recently is we found out through sources that Inter Miami hold De Bruyne's discovery rights, which is a difficult concept to explain because it's unique to Major League Soccer. Essentially, in extremely simple terms, it means dibs. Inter Miami hold the exclusive rights to negotiate with the player because they placed him on their discovery list. Clubs around the league have 5 slots on their discovery list, which means they can have up to 5 players at any given time. San Diego, for an expansion team, they have 7. Different story. But basically, Inter Miami added Kevin De Bruyne to their discovery list. So that means no other team in the league can negotiate with the player. Inter Miami are the only ones right now that can have those types of conversations. Now, does that mean that Inter Miami is going to for sure sign him in the summer or in the winter? Definitely not. It just means they stand as the only team at the moment to be able to negotiate with the player.
I love the idea of just teams worldwide being able to basically call shotgun on who they want to sign. I think we should just scrap the window. That's how we should just do all transfers everywhere going forward. But, I mean, Lizzy, do you think look, it's an obvious question. The obvious answer is yes, he's a brilliant player who'd fit into any team. But knowing what you know about Inter Miami and the sort of the balance of the egos there and getting a player with his stature in, would he fit? Is it sort of easy to just say he's a great player, he could play anywhere? How would he fit in if he did go to Inter Miami, do you think?
Yeah, he would definitely fit. I think Javier Mascherano would find a way to make it work, as he has done with a couple players on the roster. I think right now, first and foremost, you have to figure out if logistically, rules-wise, he fits in this roster. Because, again, MLS is quite complicated in that it has a very specific structure to the roster. You can only have 3 designated players, which means they can make above the salary cap. Inter Miami already has those 3 in Jordi Alba, Sergio Busquets, and obviously Leo Messi. So with the idea that De Bruyne wants to make a certain amount of money, he would need to fit into that designated player spot. Now, there are various moves Inter Miami can make in terms of buying down a contract or buying down a player, but it's extremely complicated. So more than if he fits how this team can play or whether he fits the style of Mascherano, it's much more about structurally how Inter Miami would need to reassign these labels to certain players in order to fit him into the system.
Rob, what are you hearing from Kevin De Bruyne's side in Manchester? I mean, we've talked a bit about his situation a few times this season on the podcast, and that he's obviously had a bit of a fractious relationship with Pep Guardiola. He's back fit, playing pretty well, certainly against Palace last weekend. I mean, do you think he sees MLS as his next step? Does he feel, with respect to that league, that he wants to play at a higher level, maybe in Europe before then? I mean, where do you think he sees his game? What are the sort of noises coming out of the players' camp?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a bit of I want to say an odd situation, really, because the end of Kevin De Bruyne's contract was no secret. And there were talks with City at the start of this season, sort of August, September time. Then in September, he gets quite a bad injury. He's ruled out for quite a long time. And De Bruyne himself said that at that time the talks just stopped because his focus was on his recovery and he was trying to get back in the team. So it wasn't really the right time. And it seems like those talks just never really restarted. Now, since he came back into the City team, he hasn't looked himself. I don't want to say he's run out of legs, but he's getting to that stage where that sort of yard that he had has gone. Pep Guardiola wasn't picking him in some really big games, leaving him on the bench in others. Even when City were in desperate need of a goal, he was leaving him on the bench and not bringing him on, which kind of tells its own story. I mean, the indications from City are that this is City's decision. De Bruyne, people around De Bruyne have kind of hinted that he would have been happy to stay at City for another couple of years on the same contract, so not looking for a pay rise, just to stay on the same wage, which is significant. It's not nothing, but he's not looking for a pay rise, and it was City's choice to move on. There is an interest in MLS. He's attended MLS games in the past. He's got a young family. I think he sees the appeal in raising his family in America because of the standard of living. There's also interest in Saudi Arabia. Now, Saudi Arabia can offer you an awful lot of money, but perhaps not the same lifestyle as perhaps you can get in California or Florida, for example. I thought it was interesting after the Palace game, though, that he was asked explicitly, are we seeing the end of you in England? And he kind of left the door open a little bit. Now, the fact that he was ready to negotiate with City and kind of wanted to stay suggests that he still thinks he can do it in the Premier League, in the top 5 leagues. So perhaps he's thinking that maybe he does get another move. I would be amazed if it was England, but maybe he gets a move to Spain or somewhere else. And then the move to MLS or to Saudi is still there in 2 or 3 years. Because he is past his 30th birthday, but he's not 38, 39. He has still got time left in his career. I do just wonder whether there is another European move in him somewhere, or perhaps he's using his time to kind of sound out some clubs to see if there is a reasonable offer there. I think if that wasn't there, I think his preference probably would be MLS, simply because of the lifestyle that you can have in the United States over, say, Saudi Arabia. But I think he was being honest when he said after the Palace game that I think he thinks that everything's still open and he's got time now to look at his offers and make the right choice for him and probably most importantly, his family.
Lizzy, can you give us a sense of the level of excitement about the possibility of De Bruyne going to America? I mean, where does it rank? I'm guessing it's not quite Messi levels, but where does it sort of rank? How much excitement is there about this possibility?
There's a lot of excitement. I will say, when Messi joined the league in 2023, it opened up this idea of the stars coming to MLS. And obviously that concept hasn't disappointed. And so fans just see this potential move as another step into the success of MLS. So the idea that it's possible definitely adds to the excitement. If this rumor had been started prior to Messi, I think people would be a little more doubtful rather than excited. But since Messi's here, the idea of adding De Bruyne to the list just makes it even more sensational. Obviously, with the idea that he can either be Messi's teammate at Inter Miami and what that would mean for the team, or having him join another club and having be his rival, and looking forward to kind of that matchup and that face-off. So it's twofold.
Beth, we talked, about Salah and the impact that him staying will have on the rest of the league. What do you think the impact of Kevin De Bruyne leaving the Premier League will have on the rivals, Liverpool, the Arsenals, who've had to put up with him and his fantastic performances for so many years?
Yeah, I think it's probably the reverse of what a number of Premier League fans probably felt when they heard Mo Salah was staying. It was just this sort of sense of relief that they won't have to face Kevin De Bruyne anymore. He's right up there in terms of forget, best Premier League midfielders, best Premier League players of all time, really. It's been such a joy to watch. If there's one player from any team in the world, really, that I could have put into Jurgen Klopp's Liverpool, it would have been Kevin De Bruyne, because I think that the way that he plays, his ability, his vision, is unlike anyone else in the league. And I think, he could massively have elevated what Liverpool did under Jurgen Klopp. So, yeah, I think that there will certainly be relief from Liverpool, that they're sort of seeing the back of him. I'm sure Liverpool won't be the only team to feel that way, but what a career he's had. And, it would be nice to see him go on somewhere else. It's been sad, really, to sort of see this season, obviously, that fractious relationship a little bit with Guardiola, and the fact that he's maybe not been playing at his best level. I mean, when Liverpool went to the Etihad earlier this year, it's sort of the least effective I've ever seen him in a game against Liverpool, and that probably speaks to where he's been at this season, not being quite fully fit and at his best. But certainly, he's still got a couple of years, I guess, ahead of him, and it'd be nice to see him playing at a high level and enjoying his football again.
Yeah, I think for me, he's probably the player I've most enjoyed watching, I think, over the last 4 or 5 years, when he was at his peak in that time anyway. People sort of talk about how robotic City have become and whether Guardiola's style of football is too functional, but the artistry with which he plays, he just lights up every stadium he goes to, and the passes that he sees, there's nothing robotic about that. It's just wondrous to watch. And Rob, I just want to finish with you on this. Sort of given his impact, given his status, the legacy that he leaves, I mean, are City looking at Phil Foden to step into that role, or do you think they're going to try and find somebody in the market to replace him moving forward?